title of this is "This Will Stop Climate Change." We can argue all day long about whether climate change is real or happening or not, but it appears to be accelerating faster and getting more intense and dangerous every day. If I said we can stop climate change in its tracks by giving you free power for your homes and businesses and industries for the rest of your life and generations to come, I don't think we have any argument with that. I can guarantee that this will stop climate change in its tracks. I'm going to show you this device and exactly what this device is and how to build it, and a safe engineered electrical power source that will supply free power to humanity and to the world from this time forward. Now, I retain the rights to all the trademarks and copyright designs of this device and corresponding components. I intend to pursue manufacturing to put it into production as soon as possible, and this device is ready and engineered to go into production into homes tomorrow. But to find manufacturers and to get production up and running can take months and years. And I may not succeed in getting this device out there. And I'm authorizing anyone who's in need of power or without power or in dire need of power to contract a professional electrician or master electrician, mechanical engineers, or electrical engineers to build this device for you for your own personal use. Until I can get manufacturing up and running where something happens that I can't get this to market, I want the world to have this technology. And I want humanity to never have this again, kept hidden, unseen, concealed, and secret from humanity ever again. Now I'm going to show you the exact components and design of this device and how to build it. And if you follow my exact instructions, this device will meet any National Electrical Code standards and be a safe functioning device for generations to come. And all I'm asking of you is two things. To teach and show everyone you know, including and especially your children, your grandchildren, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers, and everyone you know, and especially tradesmen, electricians, master electricians, electrical engineers, electronic engineers. I want you to show them how simple and easy this device is and how easy it is to build. And the second thing is that I want you to help me make this video go viral. And also, and if you're high school teachers or professors or instructors, that you teach your students exactly what this device is and how it works. And every high school student in the world needs to see this and understand the simplicity of this device. This is my goal, and that's all I'm asking. Now I'm going to start off showing you the first component of this device. It's the major and pretty much only component that makes the device work. I keep my notes handy so I don't forget things. So what I'm going to show you is called a Battergen. Now I trademarked and coined this term based on, is it a battery or a generator? So Battergen. And a Battergen is a simple device that has only 4 components. It's a 6-inch by 1-inch long brass tube with 2 brass caps. It has an induction coil that has about 30 to 31 wraps on it. Extra lengths to keep it in place. And its power source is seven inches or 1-inch by 1-inch long diameter neodymium magnets. Now these are very powerful and dangerous magnets, and inside this tube they're handleable because the brass is non-ferrous. So that's why it's called a Battergen, and I'll show you in a minute when I show you the device, battery or generator. Now the most important thing about the Battergen is it has a north and a south end. the same as the magnets, have a north and a south pole polarity. So the polarity is north and south, and so do the induction coils. This is the north or positive end of the induction coil, and the opposite side is the south side, right? So that's very important when I show you this device and how this device goes together. So that's pretty much it about the Battergen. Now, by itself, it's good for only two things, and that's fuck all and nothing. But, pardon my Irish proverbs, they'll slip out once in a while. And if there's children in the room, you know, tell them never to use those bad words and only use them in the proper context. That's how we teach the Irish children the proper way. Anyhow, so that's a Battergen. And what I'm about to show you now is the device itself. So when you take about half a dozen of those Battergen and put them together, this is what you come up with. Now this is the fabled 0-point free energy. It's a unified magnetic flux field generator. Like I said, it'll generate free power. And there's two reasons you should be very interested in knowing why about a unified magnetic flux field generator. Number one, it'll give you free 0-point energy for the rest of your life and generations to come. And the second reason is that we as human beings are also unified magnetic flux field generators. Now you thought I was going to go Irish there. So anyhow, you put a half a dozen of these Battergen together, and you come up with a unified magnetic flux field generator. Now it's a very simple device, and this is how it works. Once the magnets are loaded into the Battergens, they form a north to south pole that unifies the field of the magnets. Now these induction coils pull the power off of those magnets in a closed loop circuit and then feed to a positive and negative open circuit that you would feed your inverters to, and I believe it will power the average home quite easily. I'm not sure what the magnetic strength is, but you would hook two inverters up, two single pole inverters, and then send those two single poles to your electrical panel in your house, and that would power your home. Now, until I know exactly what the field strength is and what the amperage is on this, I won't be able to exactly say if we can do it with this one. But this is the hexagon prototype, and I intend to build an octagon as well, and then step it up to a decagon, 12 sides, so one that's exactly double capacity of this. So once we determine what this is, what its field strength and amperage is, we'll see moving forward. But anyhow, this is how it works. So once it's wound up and the magnets are in and it's on, it's providing us field strength or voltage here, say maybe 25 volts and say 8 amps. So if there's 25 volts field strength and 8 amps, that will maintain the same field strength. But each one of these phases, these points where the coils join, also it will maintain the same field strength, but each one of those has an equal amperage to this first phase. So once it's wound up and starting, and I click on the first phase, these switches are all open, just let me close these. So I click on the first phase. If there's 8 amps there, that would be 16, 24, 32, 40, and 48 amps. Because each one of those phases adds equal amperage under the same field strength. So once it's wound up and we figure out what the amperage is on it, then we'll know a lot more about it. But the back is as important as well, and I'll get to that in a minute. I just want to make sure that I covered everything. Okay, now basically The Battergens I showed you are simple. Every one of these components you can get at your local hardware store, your lumber yard, or your electrical shops. I want to go over the components is, just 1 5/8 by 1 5/8 deep sea channel. I used 1 1/4 inch flat bar to make the slides and the glides. The armatures are made from 3/4 inch tube steel, drilled out to hold them. All the threaded studs on here are 4-inch 3/8 threaded studs. Everything on here is everything is 3/8 threaded studs, bolts, nuts, washers, and lock washers. Important to use lock washers on anything that could have vibration potential. Now the gauge of this wire, I should have mentioned with the Battergen, is a 10-1 solid core gauge wire. So now, like I said, everything here you could buy at your local hardware store, except for the magnets. And the magnets are going to be the only thing you need to order or figure out. And neodymium is probably going to get more expensive and harder to come by than when I purchased them. But the ones that I got, the 42 magnets that I need to load this, they're worth about $1,200. And that's just for the magnets. And the rest is probably maybe, $800 in components. Excuse me. So, more than a couple of $1,000s in materials and components complete. A couple of $1,000 plus in labor. It's labor intensive, and it covers multiple, trades. And then, when they install it in your home, the cost of the inverters and electricians, maybe a couple of $1,000s more. So for say $6,000 to the average home, this would supply power for you for the rest of your life and generations to come. Now there's one thing about the neodymium magnets is they will last 140 years, and after that time they'll only lose something like 2 to 4% of their power or their strength. But if the magnets overheat and overheat beyond 212 degrees Fahrenheit, the magnets will have a meltdown and you'll be left with useless hunks of neodymium that are good for nothing. So the heat issue here is that there's not really a fire issue here because the magnets only reach 212 degrees Fahrenheit before they fail. And they're inside the brass tubes which protects them. You might have damage on the coils which you may have to replace, but as far as fire go, that's almost impossible, but not to say impossible with high voltage electricity, and this is high voltage. Now I'm not sure whether it'll stay low voltage or go high voltage, and that means whether low voltage is 50 volts and below and high voltage is 50 volts and above. And I want to get to high voltage because I figure you can actually get to 3-phase power with this. If you go to the Decagon, the 12-sided one, I think you could probably put 3 single pole inverters on it and run a 3-phase, the big induction, say out in the field with the big pivots that they pump water with the big 3-phase electric induction motors. So anyhow, that's a unified magnetic flux field generator, and that's how it works. And I think I pretty much covered everything. So yeah, it's built for safety. Everything here I designed is up to code. Until I know the field strength and the amperage, the maximum voltage on this wire is like 300 volts, so I'm not worried about volts, but I'm worried about amperage. Because if say there is 8 amps on each phase and I've got 48 amps, the maximum voltage on this wire is 55 amps. So getting up to say 48 amps is, you should never exceed 75% of its capacity for safety reasons. So in the event that say it was 8 amps, I just have to strip all the wire off, everything on here, and recoil it and rewire it with 8-1 gauge solid core copper wire. Okay, so you realize the simplicity and the ease with which it works. I'd like to say this is one of the reasons we can really tackle climate change with this and make a big difference, and I believe stop it in its tracks. And if on a 10 million home power grid, 1 million people had this unified magnetic flux field generator in their homes and selling back into the power grid the power that they don't use in their own homes. That alone would probably support the power grid, and they could shut down the coal or the diesel or the gas-fired generators that generate the field strength for the power grids. So they could actually shut them down, and that 1 million homes would supply power to keep it running. And that's actually very, very possible and can be done with this. So now there's always the dangers of these magnets, and these magnets are very dangerous to handle. They're certainly not, I've got the magnet loaded in this one, and I'll just show you here how fast they get away from you. And everything in here is metal, and metal is, and that's in a non-ferrous brass tube that's probably 1/4 inch thick. So anyhow, I've covered everything about that. So I want to try and turn this thing around, and I want to show you the back of this, which is as important, if not more important, component of it for safety reasons. And I'm going to see, this probably weighs about 150 pounds, so it's really easy to just roll around. Okay, so this is the torsion induction ground coil. Now what this does is the direction that the field unifies on the magnets, I coiled in the same direction as an induction coil to pull off all the excess electrons that the induction coils on the other side don't get. So I'm hoping that will help keep the magnets from overheating, because that's what overheats the magnets is any electrons that are left behind, that causes heat in the magnets and can damage them. So this thing is, say if its maximum power is 2500 watts, you want all that 2500 watts pulled off it continuously. That keeps the magnets stable and also cool. But I believe possibly this will, because now this torsion induction ground coil, it needs to be grounded to Mother Earth, an earth ground. You need to put a 6-gauge insulated ground on it, and you have to run it to a steel plate that you've drilled holes in and attached to and buried 3 feet in the ground. This can't be hooked to your electrical panel or a gas line or a water line or anything like that. It has to be grounded to Mother Earth and an earth ground. That's the only way to keep it safe and probably from keeping you to get electrocuted. Let me see what else I got here. I make sure I cover everything. I don't want to forget anything. So yeah, you have to use the independent ground. It's designed to coil and take any of the electrons off, run them to ground. I built a square one around the top panel to keep any electrons that may be floating loose up there, so you can handle the panels and hopefully not get electrocuted, because without this ground you could very well be electrocuted, or you would be, because there's no place for them extra electrons to go, and it'll arc to the least resistance. So this is very important in the process. It also keeps the magnet stable, it keeps the voltage stable, and I believe it keeps an even resistive balance. So the torsion induction ground coil, how I built this, and it's important I think, is I soldered together the first loop, and I made it the exact circle and soldered it together, and then in continuous row I coiled it 3 times here, wound it on the outside coil 3 times, and then I soldered another lighter 6-gauge, because I use 6-gauge on this and it's heavy stuff to work with. So then I soldered the 6-gauge wire here and then made the square induction coil to take it to ground. So I think that's everything about the induction coil. Now there is something I missed on the front that I want to show you guys about how this works. I forgot about loading the magnets and showing you that process. Okay, so now the dangerous part is loading the magnets. Now this is designed with two of the battergens locked into position on the top, and the two on the bottom are also locked in, so they don't move. But the side ones move. That's why these are coiled like this. So this is how you load them. I can't pull it all the way back because of space, but you pull it all the way back, and then there's a lock here. You need to lock that into place when you're loading the magnets, so when it's loaded it can't lurch into place. And then this side the same. You have a dual lockout, or a two-way safety, and you pretty much have to have. So then you load these top two magnets, the bottom two magnets, you load your side magnets, and it's not till you engage the magnets that the field is unified and start. So once your magnets are all loaded, then you safely unlock your nut, you slide it forward, and I'll guarantee you it'll lurch on you, and it'll go into place. And then there's still no, voltage there yet. So then when you unload the last one, and I don't recommend you stand in front of this at all when you do this, you need to stand off to the side. The induction field, if you get near it, it'll electrocute you. So then you unlock the last magnet, and then it'll lurch into its place and position. And then you're set. And then the magnets wind up, and then you open your phases once you know what your field strength is, and that's the whole device. That's how to build it, and that's pretty much all I got for that. A couple more things. I was finished with this. Now I'd like to, and we'll be seeking licensing agreements with manufacturers to start production as soon as possible. But I want to look for well-established people with financing and the power to go forward. These are ready to go, they're built. It takes very little to tool up to do this. You need mostly just good tradespeople. So, I want to look for good manufacturers are ready to start hitting hit the ground running tomorrow, and we start building them yesterday. And also look that we build these in North America and keep the jobs here in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. I don't have an issue with outsourcing, the cheapest components and the cheapest you can get. That's fine, but I think that the jobs and the technologies and the skills that this will offer our young is something we need to keep in our countries, not export our technologies and then buy it back. So that's one of my conditions on manufacturers I want to seek. This is a product that North America can export to the world and train our new young generations good trade skills and have good job skills. And they're our most valuable resources we have now and in the future, and our technologies like this need to stay with them. So that's pretty much that. Now I have some questions out there for electrical engineers and physicists and all them guys that do all these complex questions and math problems and different things. I want to, first of all, do you have equations or formulas that you can calculate 7 neodymium magnets times 6, which is 42. Can you calculate the kind of power that may generate? number one. Can you come up with the field strength or a close field strength and the amperage that the first one may have, the first phase? And so that's, and the angle. Now in the calculations, these sit at 60 degrees where the magnets join and will join to make the unified field. That 60 degree angle, does that make a difference on the potential power of the field strength and the amperage? Because the next one I'm going to go to is an octagon. And an octagon will have 8 sides, which you'll add 2 more phases. So would it be the same field strength and just add 2 more phases of amperage, or would it increase the field strength? And also, given that the angle of an octagon would be less than 60 degrees, it would be 45 degrees, are you increasing the potential for field strength or amperage in both the voltage and the amperage that they would produce? So that's, let's see, and that's that. And then the third one is, if I make a decagon, now that's exactly double of this, so it should be double capacity. It should be exactly, well, not sure about field strength, but it should obviously be double the amperage strength. But the degree changes too, because then you go from a 60 degree angle here on where the magnets join to then a 30 degree angle. So would that be a factor in a formula that you could calculate? When the angle goes from 30 degrees, because I believe that the closer the magnets come end for end, the more power or strength the unified field would probably have, is my guess. And I don't know those complex formulas and math problems that I could even begin to comprehend. So that's pretty much it for that. I mean, there's lots of electrical engineers around, you know, the guys that run your power plants in your cities and stuff. Give them a call, see if they're interested in answering your questions. I'd be curious to know before I fire this up. So now I want to say that now, if something happens to me or I'm unable to bring this to market, and I want this technology out there worldwide. Now when I know for sure that this technology is out there and gone viral worldwide, I'd like to look to make a deal with a large network or a platform that would be interested in reaching the world with a worldwide audience, and we'll spark this fucker up, give 0 point free energy back to the people and humanity where it belongs. And we'll stop climate change in its tracks with this, I guarantee you. Now, I don't think anyone has an argument against that, and I hope, and I'll let you know by the rise of the next full blue supermoon how we can move forward with free 0 point energy for humanity and help stop climate change as well. Now that's pretty much all I have. Now humanity, you need to take this technology and run with it. And teach it to all your children and everybody you know. And that's all I got. And I hope to see you on the flip side. Thank you very much.